Hey, this is Tim Pierce. I'm going to teach you the 4 main rhythm parts to this song. And if you click the link below, you get access to a free video where I teach the solo I just played, plus tons of other free videos not on YouTube. Thanks so much for your comments and your support. Let's do it. Here's the intro. So the way this starts, I've got a D chord formed here, but it's really only the 1-5-1 of the D chord. That's intervals. 1-5-1. And I've got my third finger on string 2, fret 3, and my first finger on string 3, fret 2. And I'm palm muting with the right hand on the low side of the chord. So it's pretty cool because the palm only mutes kind of the low notes. And then the upper notes ring out. And that's really important to getting the sound of this. And if it's hard for you to play, just slow it down. I'm gonna kind of teach it at a slow kind of tempo. So it starts out with this D chord. You play the low notes twice, and then you backpick. And then on the A string, you come up here and go. So from open to fret 3, and that's with the palm mute going. And I'm using my second finger for that. And then the upper part of the chord switches to an open G. So you just pull off your index finger right there, and you got the open G note. It's really a C2 chord, but it shares a lot of common tones with a G chord too. And then all you have to do next is switch to the low string and do exactly the same thing. And then you just strike once. And it seems like he hits the open G, but I like to hit the D and the G. Kind of sounds full that way. Another thing is, to make this sound legit, you need to use the out of phase position on your Strat, which is the in-between position between these two pickups or these two. Because I have a humbucker here, for me, it's a better choice to use these two. It sounds more legit. So it's the in-between out of phase position. And that makes it sound like the record. So what happens next is a fill. A little faster than that. And the way it starts, it's the open G, and then you do a hammer on the A string up to fret 2. Move over to the D string and do this. Come back to the A string, and then go over to the G string and do this. So you're skipping around doing over 3 strings. It's pretty cool. And I almost have to do it fast to remember how to do it. And it's almost easier for me to do with one finger. Let's do it really slow. D string, then jump over to the A. Hammer on, and then do up and down. So I pick both of those, and then pull off to reveal the open string on an A. Bounce back here to fret 2 on the A string, and then come up and do a pull off real quick on the G string from fret 2 to open. Really slow. Now there I use 2 fingers. Here I'll use 1. That's a little harder because I have to roll over. So I'd suggest 1 for that riff, and then your second finger for that riff, and then the third finger for the end, for that little piece at the end. That's how I would do it. Though when I turn my brain off, I kind of lapse into doing it with one finger. So do it the way it's best for you. I'm going to do it really slow. 3, 4. Again, 4. Let's put it in context. That was it, except I kind of didn't quite make the open G note. One more time. How's better? So find the fingering that works for best for you on this. That's a good one too, is to, and then move to the third finger here. That works really well. So what happens after that riff is we do a restart, and we just repeat the first thing again. It's exactly the same. And then the tail end of that riff is, and what this is you play the open G note and do a pull off on the 4th fret. And then come up and do it on the 5th fret. And then use the low D as your in-between note and pull up from 5 to 7. I like to do it with my 3rd finger because I get the strength of the second one pushing behind it right there. When I do this pull, because we're down low on the neck and the pulls are harder down low on the neck, so when I pull up, I like to use both fingers to push. And that's how this goes. Open G and pull off, and then grab the low D, and then pull up from 5 to 7. One more time. Up to speed. And he does a little string squeal, a pinch. Now here's where this pickup choice is coming back to haunt me. If I had used the combination of these pickups, the squeal would come much easier. See, it's much harder to get squeals when you're using these two pickups. You can kind of do it, and of course if I had more distortion, you'd be able to hear it more. He just gets a slight squeal. Like that. But if you pinch too much, you know, what's happening is you're just getting a little of the flesh of the thumb that's making it squeal as you pick. Now if I step on a boost pedal, it should speak more. And also if I choose these pickups, it'll squeal more. You can really get it to squeal with more gain and the combination of these two pickups. Here's the first instrumental. The chords are basically D, C, and G, and we're coming in above each chord, walking up to the 3rd. So on fret 7, string 5, walk up. And then with your little finger bar the D chord here at fret 7. And I like just to grab 2 notes. I think that's what it sounds like. You could also, if you want, you could throw in the top 3rd. But for me, it's just strings 3 and 4. And you walk up. It's pretty comfortable chromatically from 7 to 9 on string 5. Bar across strings 3 and 4 with your index finger. Don't press too hard. And then come back and play that note again. Drop this down 2 frets and do a very similar thing. No chromatic thing here though. It's just 5 to 7. Same bar across these 2 strings, but a fret down, 2 frets down. And then pick up that note. So review. One more time. 3 and 4 and here I'm hammering. I'm picking here, but I'm hammering there. Let's listen to the record and see exactly what happens. So this is really cool. It's just the G chord, but it's a similar move that happened on the C. So you do the hammer on string 5, and it's from open to fret 2, and then pick strings 4 and 3, and then strike the bottom part of a G chord. And you can hit all the way up to the B string here, but you don't want to hit the high E unless you're forming the whole G chord. And if you do play the high E, you know, here on the 3rd fret, it doesn't quite sound like the record. So I honestly think it's better to hit the lower part of the chord. And not even get the 3rd, maybe. In other words, not even get this open B string. So just aim however you can. If you pick up that note, fine. If you don't, that's fine too. But you certainly don't want to go. You want the E to not, you want to aim so that you don't pick the high E. Okay, so I'm going to review the whole thing. Starts up here, the chromatic walk up from 7 to 9 on string 5. Walk down and do it 2 frets lower, but hammer on. Play that figure, and then play the open version and strike the lower partial of the G chord. And it happens twice in a row. And another cool thing that I hear on the record is that when he strikes the low G, the other guitar player strikes the harmonic. I think it's this one up here. So that's an overdub. You can kind of hear it on the record here. And he's using the wang bar, which I don't have on here, but he's quickly, you know, listen to the record on headphones, you can hear it. He's hitting that harmonic and shaking the wang bar. And it's not that loud, but it's in there. So the verse is simpler. It's the D, the C, and the G. And they're played simply because it's easier to sing over. It's, you know, they're just kind of laying low for the verse. And then there's a riff that gets thrown in. So it starts with the D, and once again, you want to palm mute the low string and open up the high part of the chord. Same on the C. Same on the G. And then you play the riff. It's on the A string, open up to fret 2. And what that is you play, and then you go across the 2 open strings, the D and the G, strike the G twice, and then come back and do the hammer on again. So that's the whole riff. So, the whole sequence. The second time around, it just hits the G twice, and the piano player takes that riff. Like that. Then the third time around, the guitar takes the riff. And very important, the last riff ushers in the chorus. And it's this. And it's overdubbed and loud. It gets really loud right there. And it's the signature that brings in the chorus. And that is... So it's the same hammer-on the A string, open A up to fret 2. The same pick across the D string and the G string. But now go to the D string again and pull off from fret 2 to open. And then come back and do the hammer-on in the A string. So. Like that. And it happens pretty fast. And that ushers in the chorus. So I'm going to do the whole cycle, medium speed. So I'm going to show you how to play the chorus in two different positions. There were 3 guitar players in the band, so if you're one guitar player playing it, you might want to do some workarounds. And they had an amazing interaction, these 3 guys. And one guy was usually pretty free because the other 2 guys were holding it down really well. And in this case, that's Ed King. I think he wrote the primary part. There's 3 writers on it. But Ed King, I think, came up with the primary stuff. And he was pretty free to kind of dance around because the other guys were holding it down. So one of the rhythm parts is this. And that just kind of repeats. It's a bit of a stretch. So what I'm doing here, my index finger's on the 5th string, the A string, fret 5, and then my 3rd finger is on the D string, fret 7. And I take my little finger and stretch it up to 9 on the D string. Really quick, up and down. And I'm just picking those 2 strings. Then I walk down and do it on the C, and it becomes even more of a stretch. So, and these are pretty open. You don't have to mute much, although I am muting a little bit just to keep things under control. And then just bring this over to the next 2 strings and do it on the G. Skip back up to the C and start again. Now, it's such a stretch for me and my hands are small. I literally have to lean over. I'm sitting down right now. If you're standing up and the guitar's low, it's going to be hard for you to do. This is one of those things I really have to lean my shoulder over to make this stretch. So there is another way to do it. You can do it open. And let me try and show you this way too. It's a lot easier on the hand and the arm and the shoulder and everything. But there's some tricks to it. So it's the D chord, but I'm doing it open. Open D, and then the index finger on the G string, fret 2. And I walk up to fret 4 on the G string. And I do have to mute, because it's open strings, I do have to mute quite a bit to keep them sounding like the record. And then I move to the C and I have to change positions. And I'm cheating a little bit there because I'm just blocking the D string with the flesh from this finger as it hangs over. And it can be tough because you really only want to hear 2 strings. You want to hear the low C right there, and then this G string. And it really depends on muting over here and making sure that the D string doesn't ring at all. And then you do the same thing on the G. Okay? So you've kicked over your 2nd finger to the E string on this G note. And you do the same thing. You block the A string. It's the same shape, but just another string over. And so it's the open D string, and then your index finger is hitting the 2nd fret on the D string. So the trick here is to throw in the riffs. Now let me just refresh on what the riff sounds like. Sweet home Alabama. Yeah. So your hand's in a perfect position to do that. That's the benefit of being in this open position. So what that is we've done this before in the song, kind of in this area. And it's a hammer on the A string and a hammer on the D string. And a pull off on the D string, and then pull up at fret 3 on the A string. Kind of bluesy pull up. And by playing it down here, you can combine the rhythm and the fill. So it's kind of a benefit. And then the middle riff is easy in a way, because it's a repetition. So what that is, open D string, and then up to the 2nd fret on the D string. And I use my 2nd finger for it. And then the open G string. And it's hammered. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think it's 5 of them. got to go right into it. And then you lose the chord underneath. So if you, hopefully you got a bass player playing with you or another guitar player, and otherwise you can give up the riff and just play rhythm. You know, you just have to choose what you want to hear. And then I think the third time around it's a repetition. So then, yeah, it's a repetition of the first time, right? And then the fourth time. And however you want to voice that, if you're here, you could go up there, but it's F to C. There's a turnaround, an F to C turnaround at the end of the chorus that you can pick up in whatever way you see fit. I think that sounds really good if you're doing it down here. Is to grab, and it's what I'm doing is I bring my thumb over because I like the way that sounds, and it also gives me a chance to play the open G if I want, but you can do it here. It's just less of a switch. If you can get your thumb to hang over and grab the low F and then voice it like this with these two fingers here on the 3rd fret, and then kind of the open G, and then your index finger barred across the top 2 strings at the 1st fret. That's the spelling. That's the way it looks. And this G doesn't need to really even sound. I mean, you can kind of mute the G with the flesh from the little finger if you want. And I strike it really hard. And then it gives me a perfect kind of position to go to the C chord with the E in the bass. And this is a cool thing because you get to play the C with the E in the bass and really play all 6 strings. And that's the C chord that we all know. So I would do it there. If you're here, let's see. That's how it goes. You could do that, and it's sort of a Keith Richardsy kind of thing. You get the upper, you know. But I think down here it sounds really good. You can do that. There's some swift moves here. I'm going to try and do the whole chorus. So those are the 4 main rhythm parts. There are 3 guitar players in the band, like I said. So as one guitar player, you kind of have to figure out which parts you want to play, you know, to hold it down depending on your situation. If you're by yourself, you might give up some fills. If you're with another guitar player, then you might, you know, have him play it in one position and you play it in another position, and make sure that one guy is holding it down. You might trade off a lot. Even having a bass player and drummer, if you're one guitar player, the bass player can cover, you know, the chordal aspect. So if it's a power trio and you have a drummer and bass player, then you can play a lot of the fills because the bass will cover a lot of the chordal stuff. So there's a lot of options, a lot of ways you can do it. And thanks so much for listening. They're an awesome band. They're one of my absolute favorites.